Hey guys, I'm just fixing my hair right now. I want to talk about financial stress. How about bad hair day stress? I'm Kyle, the host here at MedCircle. This is a topic I have been wanting to cover for a long time, and certainly I'm not a mental health professional, nor am I anyone qualified to give financial advice. However, it is a topic that is close to my heart, and I know a lot of our viewers' hearts as well. We are going to be releasing new content for our MedCircle members at medcircle.com on this topic of mental health and financial security or financial insecurity. I'd love to hear in the comment section below, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much your financial situation impacts your mental health. 10 being it is such a trigger, a cause of mental stress and mental health issues. And 0 being, oh my gosh, I don't even think about it. I'm good with money. And good with money can mean I have plenty of it. I'm not stressed about money, or I just don't have that relationship with money where it causes me stress. I know people like this. They don't have a lot of money, but it doesn't stress them out. I fall on the category of I'm I'm a 10, okay? If my finances are not under control, if they're not organized, if I don't have a budget, if I don't know where I'm going financially, my stress level just explodes. My mental health deteriorates, and it manifests itself in a way that actually hurts my financial performance. What happens and what has happened in my life is when I've been in places where I just don't have a lot of money and I'm really struggling to make sure, okay, I got a rent coming up in 3 days. How am I going to get enough cash in the bank so they don't overdraft it? It causes me to want to go into myself, recluse, go take a nap, hide. My gut reaction isn't, all right, let me go fix this. It's let me run away from this. And I think that's really common with a lot of obstacles and struggles that we come across in our lives. Some of them we do get up and we go, yeah, I can fix that. I'll fix that right now. That's easy. But with money, because it's so integral in every part of our life, for a lot of people, and myself included, we go, oh my gosh, I don't want to deal with this. I'm gonna push it away. You don't have to look very far to see the scientific evidence of financial insecurity's impact on mental health. There is a correlation between financial instability and depression, anxiety, stress, substance use, negative thinking, decrease in satisfaction in personal relationships, and it goes on and on and on. I can share some resources that have helped me through this, and I can also share some personal anecdotes that really work for me, and perhaps they'll work for you as well. But remember, I'm not a mental health expert. I just have the privilege of talking to them each week here on MedCircle. I'm also not qualified to give any financial advice. Goodness gracious. I remember I took accounting in college and my dad asked me, what have you learned in accounting? And I said that I need a really good accountant because I'll never understand this. It's too much. I understood assets, I understood liabilities, and then they started talking about appreciation and depreciation. I was like, I'm out. It got too complicated. Number one thing that has helped me is a budget with some caveats. Most people understand that a budget is something where you can track all of your expenses and it shows you where your money is going to go each month. But how most people end up using it is just a place to track expenses, not where the money is going. Meaning a true budget should say, here's the money and here's where it's going to go. And most people use a budget as, here is the money and here is where it went. It's just a reflection of where you spent it. A budget should tell you where to spend it, not reflect on whatever whim you had and wherever you decided to spend that money. Regardless if you make $1 a month or if you're making $1 million a month, you should have a budget. You should know where that money is going to go. Just that one step alone gives me a lot of peace around my money because at least I know where it's going. May not have enough, may have some left over, but I know where all the money is going. The other thing with budgets is people think we have to get them right the first month. I think it's okay to spend 3, 4, 5, or 6 months trying to figure out your budget. That's okay. Don't get discouraged if the first month you go, I budgeted $300 on groceries and I spent $500. Okay, well, you were wrong, or you didn't have the self-discipline, or something came up, whatever it was. Okay, no judgment, no shame. But whatever it was, you didn't allocate the money the way you said you would. Let's find out why and try again the next month. Budgets, and Dave Ramsey taught me this actually, or I guess he gave me permission to fail with my budget, which no one had ever given me before. I always thought, all right, if I do a budget, it has to be perfect the first month. If it's not, then I'm a failure. It's your first month doing a budget. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to fail. So just look at it, and then next month make those adjustments, and probably by month 3, you have a budget that you are really connected with, that has a very high success rate of being accurate, and it gives you a roadmap for the rest of the year. Keeping in mind that budgets also have a seasonality to them. If you celebrate Christmas, December rolls around, you probably are going to give some people or family members gifts. That's going to adjust your budget. That's why I think it's also important to make a new budget every month. What's coming down the highway, so to speak, and let's prepare each month. Now, this is not a sponsored video. I have no incentive to share this with you. I have no financial incentive to share this with you. I use Dave Ramsey's budgeting tool, EveryDollar. I think there's a free version. I spend the money for the paid version, and there's a line item in my budget, Dave Ramsey app. And that has been a very easy, effective, and I wouldn't maybe call it enjoyable all the time, but a pretty enjoyable way to manage my personal finances. So there's one resource for you. The second thing that you can't talk about mental health and finances without mentioning is debt. Debt is a burden it is a financial burden. And I know there's lots of debate out there on good debt versus bad debt, and you need debt to buy a house, and debt is how you get ahead. And I'm not here really to fight any of those theories or ideas. It may not be what I think, but you believe whatever you think. That's cool. We can believe different stuff. But I do believe universally, if you took a random person and one has $100,000 of debt and one has no debt, the person who has no debt walks through the world with a little bit more freedom, with a little less weight on their shoulders. I have experienced that. I have had debt. I didn't get a credit card until I was in my 30s. My first credit card was in my 30s. So I've had debt and I've not had debt, and not having debt is way better than having debt. When I have had debt, my mental health has been maybe its worst. Everything is difficult. You're checking out at the grocery store. You're going into the doctor's office and wondering how much insurance is going to cost. You're saying no to this and no to that because you just can't or don't want to spend the money. It's a difficult place to be in, especially if you don't have a roadmap of getting out, which is where the budget comes in. And so getting control of your debt, having a game plan for your debt, whatever that game plan is for you, again, I don't know what it should be. I like Dave Ramsey's plan. Seems very effective. It's very efficient. But getting that plan in place, for me, immediately reduced the stress and anxiety and depression I was feeling from not having a plan to tackle my debt. And then when the debt is addressed, you want to talk about feeling good. Man, you feel good. Now, some people feel good when they get out of debt, and then guess what they do when they feel good? They go spend money. And guess what happens? They go back into debt. I don't recommend that. But what has happened for me is I got out of debt, and now I am not in debt, and it feels so good to not be in debt, and I want to maintain not being in debt. And now my it's easier to address my mental health when I don't have the weight of debt on me every day. And even if it's something like how many of my friends have student loan debts? Oh my gosh, so many. And most of them don't even think about it on maybe a few times a year, but it's still there. When their paycheck comes in every 2 weeks, they see the little amount get taken and paid off to their student loans. And then every few times a year, they see that they're 5 or 6 or 7 years away from paying off all their debt. And that impacts you to see that restraint. It's kind of like going through the world with, that old image of the chain on your ankle with the chain links, and at the end there's that weighted ball. It's kind of like going through the world like that. Eventually, you may not notice it all the time, but when it's off, when that chain and that weighted ball is off, man, stability and financial uncertainty, getting a budget and having a plan for debt go hand in hand with managing your own mental health. I know it does for me. I am happier, and I use that word on purpose. I am happier because I'm less stressed and I have less anxiety when I have a clear picture of my financial situation. And that's what it is. The happiness does not come, although some of it certainly could, but the happiness does not necessarily come from being wealthy or having a gazillion dollars. Although, hey, I'd love to try that out. Give me a gazillion dollars. I'll tell you how happy I am. But the happiness doesn't necessarily come from that. It comes from you knowing where you're at and having a game plan on where you're going. No matter how monumental the journey may seem to get out of debt or to make more money or to cut your costs or your expenses or whatever it is, just knowing what that journey is can bring a lot of peace because most people don't know the journey. Most people are hoping that it will just work out. Mm, hoping that it will work out. I don't know if that's ever, I think you can hope that it will work out, but you still need a game plan. Or hoping that the government's going to go pay off all your debt and loans. Mm, I don't like depending on them to fix my life. I like depending on myself, however. Dave Ramsey, I think, is a great resource. And if you listen to the Dave Ramsey show, again, not affiliated with Dave Ramsey in any way, MedCircle is not affiliated with Dave Ramsey in any way. But if you listen to the Dave Ramsey show, at least when he was on, full disclosure, I don't listen to him anymore because he's barely on there. He has all these other people on there who are good, but I prefer Dave. I would say maybe 10%, maybe even 20% of the callers would call in financial distress. And when he would ask what was going on or what the story was behind this financial distress, 10 to 20% of them would indicate a mental health reason. My child was just diagnosed with X, Y, and Z. I was just in the hospital for X, Y, and Z. My husband is struggling with addiction or substance use, whatever it is. Mental health and finances are like this. They co-occur. And for those of us in treatment, haven't we seen the cost of mental health care impact our mental health? Ironically, I just moved to Arizona last year and I was looking for a new therapist and I talked to two. They didn't take insurance, and I think one was $380 per session and one was $450 per session. That's stressful. That impacted my mental health. I don't see either of those people, by the way. Not in my budget. But we know, but I'm just illustrating the fact that our finances and our mental health impact each other. We don't bring it up enough. We look at them separately, and and I don't think we always should. I think it's important to realistically look at how our relationship with money is impacting our relationship with ourselves, with our brain, with our own mental health. And for me, a budget, getting out of debt, knowing where I'm going, and really having control of my income and expenses was the first step and the ongoing process of taking care of my mental health. I've actually talked to people about this. I said, I think I told my psychiatrist this actually. I said, I feel guilty that I'm happier when my money's under control, when I got that all situated and organized and under control and blah, blah, blah. And he kind of chuckled and he goes, well, of course. Wouldn't most people? And I thought, oh, I guess most people would. Money is a universal experience. We're all doing. Y'all, every this month you spent some money. You probably got some money, but you definitely spent some money this month. So we're all having this relationship with money. And so I had to get rid of my own guilt because I thought, oh, it's bad that I'm allowing money to impact my mental health so much. Well, what's really bad is allowing it to impact my mental health negatively. What is so what's good though is when I can change my relationship with money so that I'm in control, so that I know what's going on, so that it actually improves my mental health. There's also the inverse of this, where a mental health event, a diagnosis, a condition can impact the finances. I've had a friend recently go to a psych ward, self-admitted into the hospital. Huge bill after the stay at the psych ward. Now you're dealing with the mental health condition that spurred this trip to the psych ward and a brand new big fat bill, which is great for your mental health, sarcastic, to deal with. So again, in that respect, we want to look at what we can do with that relationship with money in order to, sorry, a lot of people are texting me right now about this. Apparently we're hitting a nerve. I forgot what I said about the psych ward. I don't remember, but I do have another point. One way that people cope with mental health is by spending money. I have never been this person except one time in my life. But it is a coping mechanism where we spend to feel good. And we have to look at that as with as much scrutiny as we would with anything else. If you were participating in substance use in order to avoid your anxiety and stress and depression, and it was getting in your way of having relationships or going to work, that would want to be addressed. The same thing happens if you're spending money, especially if you're spending money that hasn't been budgeted to be spent on that, or you're spending money that you don't have in order to get those quick little feelings of goodness. We're covering up the problem, creating a new problem, and then it becomes the cycle. I don't feel good because my finances are out of control. I'll feel better if I just pop on and buy some new clothes. Let me do that. Well, now I've spent money that I don't have. My debt has increased. I don't feel good again. I've got to get out of feeling this way. So, what is a quick fix to do that? Well, go spend some money. And it goes over and over and over again. And you can wake up 3 years later and go, I've really got myself into a mess. And if you do wake up 3 years later and you look around and go, okay, I've gotten myself into a mess, deep breath. Okay, now let's go the other direction. Now let's just start the plan. Let's get on the budget. Let's come up with a plan for tackling debt. Let's get educated on some personal finance items. Because when you when you have a healthier relationship with your finances, you have a healthier relationship with yourself and your mental health. I do believe in that. Any resources or comments that you want to leave in the comment section, I would love to check those out. Again, really shout out to Dave Ramsey. I think for the most part, what he does is really fabulous. Now, if you are brand new to Dave Ramsey and you go start listening to him, he does have an extreme side. You know, his deal is get out of debt as fast as possible, cut every corner, get 13 jobs, do it fast, fast, fast. And that actually works with my personality type. I get that. I'm like, yeah, yeah. All right, Dave, I can do it. I'm with you. I'm with you, baby. Let's do it. But it doesn't have to be that way. I think your journey to financial freedom or a better relationship with money should be your journey. And if Dave Ramsey can offer a few guiding points, fabulous. And maybe you do the whole Dave Ramsey system. Maybe you just take a few that work. He would call it you're doing Dave-ish, Ramsey-ish. And he doesn't like that. But we're not here to make Dave happy. We're here to get your life to where you want it to be. And so maybe it takes you a couple extra years to get out of debt, but you're moving that direction. We're going to talk more about this. We've got to. I want to bring on some finance people. I want the doctors to start talking about mental health and finances on our platform. If you're probably a YouTube subscriber. If you're not, hit the subscribe button. Helps us. Thank you for doing that. But if you would like to start a free trial to MedCircle, which is much more than just videos here on YouTube, you can go to medcircle.com or use the links below this video. Thanks, y'all, for letting me chat with you guys today, Thursday, March 10th. Hope you're having a great day. I'm Kyle. Remember, whatever you're going through, you got this.